G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people, midweek report time. That's some breaking news on midweek report, I must add. Only in the last few minutes I started recording, and lo and behold, we get some news. I was going to start with Dillian Whyte breaking his silence, which he did, and I'll touch on something else in a second. He broke his silence on Instagram today, where he said, "I'm ready, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on the 23rd of April at Wembley Stadium, #let's go." He put Frank Warren, BT Sport, Wow Nutrition, #Fury Whyte, all that jazz. What's been announced further than that, Dillian Whyte will actually join Tyson Fury, Bob Arum and Frank Warren for a Zoom press conference tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. UK time. Now I won't be home at that time. I'll actually be out with my friend, but make no doubt I will have a video ready that evening. Tomorrow evening I'll be definitely giving my 2 cents on it. So Dillian Whyte finally, he's breaking a silence, and I wonder how the Zoom press conference tomorrow is going to be. Tyson Fury, even if Dillian Whyte is on Zoom, we've seen how them conferences can go with the Furies. Remember Jake Paul and Tommy Fury? John Fury really he went, balls to the wall against Jake Paul and that. It was funny as hell to watch. I wonder, will we see something like that? Or maybe would Tyson Fury feel, I need to be there in person to really rile this guy up. I'm not going to get it the same over Zoom as I would in real life. I don't know. But I'm sure Tyson Fury will try something. I'm sure Tyson Fury will try and get Dillian Whyte to bite. Dillian Whyte's been stoic. He's been silent. In many ways, in terms of not playing Fury's game, in terms of the mind games, being silent is the best thing he can do. It really is. In terms of selling it, obviously it's not ideal. But in terms of because Dillian Whyte is such a fiery character. I've said this before, I'll say it again. He could walk into a room full of mirrors, start a row with himself. That's the kind of guy he is. We've seen how he's reacted in the past. 2 opponents, Chisora, I remember the famous, that was against David Hay. But when he threw the thing at Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte he threw that glass straight away. Remember when Chisora threw the water at him, and Dillian Whyte straight with the glass. He is a very volatile, fiery character. I wonder, will Team Fury try and get under his skin tomorrow? I wonder, will they? And I wonder, even though he's not there physically in person, I wonder, will he bite? Because I gotta say, in terms of, as I said, not playing Fury's games, I'm sure he's taken some of what Deontay Wilder did. Because when Wilder, obviously we know, put the headphones on, just completely ignored Fury, and Fury was trying his best. You could tell he was trying to get Wilder to bite. He never did. And in many ways, I feel if Wilder had bit at those press conferences, we would have got a more fired up Fury. Because Sugar Hill Stewart even said he wasn't really fired up. I wonder if Deontay Wilder had bit at some of them press conferences for the trilogy fight, would Fury have been a bit more riled up, and would he have really kind of, gone with a bit between his teeth and made the fight maybe easier? Maybe he needs that to make a fight easier, because he knows, okay, now I'm up for it, now I know there's a bit of danger, I know he's gunning for me, let's do it. If Dillian Whyte doesn't say anything, if he doesn't bite, if he keeps quiet, and who knows, I'm not picking him to win, but if these tactics do offset Team Fury and somehow Dillian Whyte manages to beat Tyson Fury, I mean, can you imagine the I told you so's? I mean, it's not inconceivable Dillian Whyte can beat Tyson Fury, certainly not. I've seen bigger upsets than that. But could you just imagine Dillian Whyte post-fight press conference, the let's go? Could you imagine the I told you so's? It'd be a bit like that scene out of Father Ted, the old sitcom of the 90s, where he wins Priest of the Year and he's having to go with all the people who doubted him. Ah, yes. Father O'Brien, back in Waterford. You're looking like some fucking dickhead now. Be a bit like that. I guarantee you, it'd be a bit like that. So Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, Zoom press conference, it's not the same. But nevertheless, we will see the two guys, at least, I was going to say in the same vicinity, but we'll see a screen with Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury. They will be going at it, make no mistake, and I'll be keeping my eyes peeled to that. I'd only really planned on talking about the Instagram post, but that literally broke in the last few minutes. Also, the price of the pay-per-view in the US. Now, it's $70 in the US. $70 for ESPN pay-per-view for Fury and Whyte in the US. How do my American fans feel about that? Do you think, like, I know you guys obviously, and I know we complain that it's 24 quid or 25 quid and you are paying 70 quid. But, like, in the UK, this is a big fight. I know in the US, Fury and Wilder draws, but Fury with whoever probably wouldn't. And Dillian Whyte certainly is not the name in the US that he is in the UK. I wonder how you guys feel about that, knowing that it's 70 quid. I know normally that's kind of what you're paying in around that ballpark. I think Turman versus Barros was something similar. And that was not a strong fight, but it didn't have a bad undercard, to be fair. Speaking of bad undercards, ho boy, we are not being treated to good undercards this weekend. I want to preview the Conor Benn versus Chris Van Heerden fight. I was saying his name wrong, as I do many fighters earlier. The card is absolute muck. Like, it really is. If you look at this card, right, there's only one fight on it that you could say is legitimately competitive, that it's a legit could go either way, and that's the co-main, which is Chris Billum Smith versus Tommy McCarthy, rematch from Fight Camp. And that first fight, again, could have really went either way. Good entertaining scrap, both guys' styles match quite well. That's the only real 50-50 fight. I mean, Conor Benn versus Chris Van Heerden, it's either going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a complete stinker with Chris Van Heerden looking to survive and be negative and get through the 12 rounds, which I don't discount. And believe you me, if a guy is looking to survive, they can go to 12 rounds. I don't discount that. Or, well, Van Heerden's not been looking good for years now. He's completely shot. He's got no ambition. And Conor Benn will have a nice easy time. Well, he's going to have an easy time regardless, but just he'll get rid of him in a couple of rounds. It's one of those two. I'm not seeing this fight being competitive. Alicia Baumgardner, although I'm a fan of watching her, I think she's a good fighter. She's definitely entertaining. She's fighting this Edith Salade Matisse. Base the Kid, shout out to him. Shout out to Base, actually, he's got a great YouTube channel as well. Base the Kid on YouTube. He pointed out correctly that that's actually Lucas Matisse's sister. When I saw Matisse, I was thinking that because she's Argentinian, and I was like, I'm sure there's more than one Matisse in Argentina. But no, apparently she's Matisse's sister, Lucas Matisse's, but she's 7'11", and short notice. Blech. Jordan Thompson, who I do like, I think he's alright. He's in there against the guy, 14-5. I'd like to see him step up. Cyrus Patterson, 3-0. He's just the usual, you know. Thomas Whitaker Hart, again, like, it's just feeding a load of prospects. Campbell Hatton, Lee Glover, his name rings a bell. Who did he fight? Sunny Ali, Muhammad Ali, not literally, I think that's the pro Frank Warren signed. Got beat by Lee Wood in 2 rounds back in 2016. Andy Townsend, his name does ring a bell for some strange reason. I wonder what cards he fought these guys on. That would probably explain that. He fought on the Kevin Bizier card. That would explain one of the reasons where I seen his name from. Because his name rang a familiar bell. But he's in there with Campbell Hatton. Again, like, I'm glad they're putting Campbell Hatton low on the cards and not any of these, you know, they put him on Spain a few times and he's fighting more down. The kid needs that. Luke Evans is a journeyman. Jack Cullen makes his return to the ring against Vladimir Belusky. He's a fighter from Cork. Very limited, but can take it to the head for fun pretty much. So however long that goes, Jack Cullen's going to have a heavy bag in front of him. James Metcalf in a tune-up fight before he fights Leharagan next month. Really poor card. Really poor. People keep saying, like, you know, you don't give DAZN that much credit. How can I give him credit with a card like this when Eddie Hearn was saying game changed? To be fair to Eddie Hearn, as bad as this card is, it pales in comparison to Frank Warren's card that he's putting on the same day in BT Sport in Shropshire. Jason Cunningham, defending his European title, super bantamweight title, he's been having a bit of an Indian summer in his career. You know, it seems like it was only a few years ago that he was soundly beaten by Michael Conlon for the Commonwealth title. He goes on to beat Gamal Yafai. Was it Gamal? Yeah, it was Gamal Yafai. beat Brad Foster, who was undefeated at the time in his last fight. And, pretty much since the Conlan fight, he's been having an Indian summer. He became European champion out the back. He's fighting a French guy called Terry Lachevere. The little French spin on that. Lachevere. He's fighting him, undefeated guy, but absolutely no names. Majority decision there against the guy who was 9-2. Never a good look. Over 12 rounds. Again, never a good look. One knockout. Or has he got more? Yeah, he's 2 knockouts in 16 fights. I'm not going to let that record deceive. He could be a revelation, but it's not exactly looking likely. Andrew Kane against Pavel Ares Gomez. That's the co-main event, and the guy is 15-10. Nathan Heaney is fun to watch. He's very limited. He's definitely got a big fan base. That's why Warren has him on these cards. He's fighting Diego Ramirez. Diego Ramirez knocked out Bradley Skeet, as far as I remember. Yeah, he did in 2 rounds. I remember that fight well. That was in Brentwood. That was actually the night Fielding fought Canelo. And that was Bradley Skeet's comeback fight after he got knocked out by Leharaga. And he got absolutely ironed out by Ramirez. That was bad. And it was such a sudden knockout as well. Because Ramirez is 24-6. That was such a sudden knockout. Eaton James, Owen Cooper, George Davey, George Bance, Macaulay Owens, Bradley Thomas, and Brad Strand. So they're all fighting nobodies. Absolute nobodies. These are just the journeymen. Yeah. I was watching Dell Blue Collar Sports video on this, and he was saying when AJ Fury, Whyte move on, when they retire, obviously, who's going to fill the void? And judging by some of these undercards, I'm not exactly optimistic that anyone will. To be fair, there's the Boxer show on Sky. If you've never seen the Boxer shows, they're like do you remember the old prize fighter back in the day? Where Eddie Hearn, I think, was the guy who invented that, or was certainly part of it. It was definitely a matchroom concept, as far as I know, anyway. And Ben Shalom has taken that on. He does it called, it was called Ultimate Boxer. I think it's just called Boxer now. 3 rounds. They're just basically amateur fights, but they're in the pro game. 3 rounders, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, and the winner gets X amount of money. I think they get like 30 grand or something in around that, which is a huge amount of money for a reasonably easy night's work. You've got Ryland Charlton. I would make him the favourite personally. And Ryland Charlton, I felt bad for him after his last fight where he lost, and he said he's probably going to have to go back working as a chef. I felt very bad for him over there. Titus Lockham, Dylan Shima, Sean Cooper, I've heard of him. Joe Underwood Hughes, I have heard of him. I've seen him fight before, but I can't. The name rings a bell, but I can't remember where I seen him. Brooklyn Tilly. Again, never seen him, 22 years old. His record's not exactly filling me with the greatest amount of confidence. So these are the cards that are on in the UK. Amazing, isn't it? You've got the Zone on, BT Sport clashing, and Sky clashing. Now the Sky card, as I said, it has no one. It's just the boxer fights. So, not want to sound too negative, but yeah, it's not ideal. Then we look over at the other end of the pond, and we have the PBC card, which is Errol Spence versus Jordanis Ugas. And yes, I'm going to take this into consideration. It's a pay-per-view, yep. But the quality of this card is, it's there for all to see. Isaac Cruz versus Gamboa. I don't really like the fact that Gamboa's in there, to be honest with you, but you never know. You never know with Gamboa. He might roll back the years, although I doubt that very much. He's lost his last 2 fights. He's not been looking particularly good, injury-ridden in them. But you've got Cody Crowell versus Josecito Lopez. Lopez, I actually thought he lost his last fight. He didn't. His last loss was against Turman. For some reason, I thought he took an L. Must have been, maybe it was someone else. Bataya versus Stanionis, co-main event. That's going to be a good fight. That's going to be a very, very, very good fight. I'm struggling to pick a winner in that, to be honest with you. Stanionis has been looking reasonably good, to be fair, as has Butayev. Oh, that's a good fight, lads. That's a great co-main. That's a really, really tough co-main. I was impressed by Batayev when he beat Jamel James. I actually thought that fight would be a real... I didn't see that. I didn't see either man getting a stoppage in that fight, to be honest with you. Even though Batayev, he's pretty he has decent power, but I didn't expect him to stop Jamel James. I'm going to be frank. That's a great co-main. That is a really good co-main. Crowley versus Lopez is a good fight as well. Even down the undercard, you've got guys like Brendan Lee versus Zachary Ochoa, Francisco Vargas versus Jose Valenzuela. These are some good fights, people. Some pretty good fights. And obviously it culminates in the main event, which is Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas. That's a unification. It's actually, this is sad, right? This is sad. I don't like this. No, Sky didn't pick up this fight. BT Sport didn't pick up this fight. Box Nation didn't pick up this fight. It's going to be on Fight TV for $12.99. This is a unification at £147. Errol Spence, who is one of my favourite fighters to watch, against Yordenis Ugas, coming off the back of a win over Manny Pacquiao, and it's on Fight TV here in the UK. Do you remember when PBC brought the UK shows over here? Now they only done I think one or two, but they had that deal with ITV. So ITV were putting a lot of these shows on free to air. They pretty much stopped after Thurman Pacquiao. I think that was the last card they put on that was free to air on ITV. But since then, they've not put any more on. Well, that deal's definitely gone south by now. It's been 3 years nearly. But that was nice when we had it. The fact that we're Fight TV, really? It's on Fight TV. A fight of that magnitude, you might say Ugas isn't that good. Well, he's definitely better than your average welterweight. He's a world level welterweight. Make no mistake about it. And I do see that fight as being very competitive. I think Yordenis Ugas, if you look at some of the footage of him, he has a very good, he's a knack for landing that straight right hand, because Ugas fights from the orthodox stance, which is it's very rare you see Cuban fighters fight from the orthodox stance, and he's a knack of landing it on the southpaw. He's fought a good few southpaws in his career, and you see the way he sets up the right hand. He's done it against Pacquiao, he's done it against others. I see him giving Errol Spence a harder... Here's one, right? I'm picking Spence to win. But I see you guys giving Errol Spence, and if I'm wrong, so be it, but I see him giving Spence a harder fight than Danny Garcia did. I'm telling you now, he's going to give him a harder fight than Danny Garcia did. I really do think that. And with Spence, there's that worry of the eye. There is. Eye injuries very seldom tend to just go away overnight. Even when the fighter is recovered from them, there's always that worry that it's going to flare up again. There's always that little bit of nagging worry that might flare up, and I wonder if something like that will happen with Errol Spence. I don't know for definite, but I do wonder if something like that might happen with Errol Spence. I do worry. Might not happen in this fight, but God knows when. So that's pretty much that. I think I've talked about most of what I needed to do. Obviously I'll have a little video up, and I've got something very, very, very special planned for this coming Sunday. Watch the space. Just watch the space. Working on something for this coming Sunday. Hopefully it'll be up in the late evening or the night, but just watch the space. Not gonna give it away. Watch the space. Leave it there, people. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you could, smash the like button. Appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you. Peace.